Okay, now that we know the anatomy of the core and kind of how it all works, it's time to talk about strategy. There's two factors that go into strategy to maximize the function of your core. That's alignment and breathing. So we're going to talk about alignment first. Alignment means the bony structures of the core are placed in a way that allow the muscular structures to work in their best possible manner. So the bony structures are your ribs and your hips. And so your hips are your pelvis. So your pelvis, your bony pelvis is what holds the sling of the pelvic floor, which is like the bowl that sits at the bottom of your core. And your ribs hold your diaphragm, which is like the bowl that sits upside down on top of your core. And then your abs come around and connect them all together. So to start with alignment, have your feet about hip width apart, pointing forward. And then you want to think about having your perineum, or the space between your vagina and your anus, right in between your ankle bones. So not way out behind you here, not way out in front of you. You'll also feel like your weight is evenly distributed in the middle of your feet. From there, you want to think about your hip bones and your pubic bone to be aligned in a vertical plane. So not your pubic bone sticking out way front and not your hip bone sticking out way front. Nice and vertical up and down. Once you have your pelvis in good alignment, you can think about bringing your ribs into that. So you want your ribs, you should be able to feel them right here at the top of your abs. Touch them with your thumbs and then touch your hip bones. You want them to be aligned vertically similarly to your hip bone and your pubic bone. Now, not thrust way up in the air like this, not squashed way down like this. Nice and vertical so that these abs can maximize their function. Now, building onto that and building into breathing. So having your core in this good alignment allows your diaphragm to work at its best and subsequently allows the rest of your core to work at its best. So I want you to think about breathing using the entirety of your diaphragm. So put your hands around the bottom of your rib cage, kind of right below where your bra strap sits, and just take big inhales and feel your hands expand. Now bring your thumbs kind of closer together in the back and try and push those thumbs apart with your breath. So a lot of women don't breathe into their sides and their back. They kind of breathe out here a lot into their belly and into their chest. So you want to think about your breath kind of being like an umbrella that's opening inside the bottom of your rib cage. So that allows your diaphragm to work at its best, and like I said, your whole core. Now, at the same time, you don't want to be gripping your abs or your pelvic floor because they need to move in order for your breath to move freely. Because your diaphragm is coming down, so that pressure needs to go somewhere. So for some people, if you're gripping and you're holding everything, that might go out through your diastasis, it might go down through your pelvic floor if you have a prolapse, or it might come out as leaking. So in order to maximize that, you need to allow these muscles to give when you're taking a nice big inhale, when that diaphragm comes down. So when your diaphragm comes down, your belly should expand, your pelvic floor should lower. It shouldn't be heaviness or pressure, but it should be a give, a release, a lowering with that big inhale. And you should feel it gently recoil as you exhale. So nice big breaths in. And you should feel the expansion and relaxation of your core or your abs and pelvic floor. Now we're going to build that into how do we use breathing to our maximum efficacy when we are doing exercise. So we're going to use that breath, we're going to use that alignment, and then we're going to build in what Julie Reed calls a piston breath. So I'm going to use a squat as an example. And the basis of it is you inhale on the easy portion of the exercise and you exhale on the hard portion of the exercise. So for a squat, the easy portion is the lowering and the exhale, or the hard portion is the standing back up. So you would inhale at the bottom, exhale all the way up to the top. And it's not that you have to take a full big huge inhale and a full exhale. It's just the matter of the breath is moving in the right direction for each portion of the movement. Now, to take that a step further and build in support through your abs and your pelvic floor, you want to think about engaging those muscles at the bottom as you start your exhale. So you'll get down to the bottom Think about lifting that pelvic floor, engaging those transverse abs, pushing back up to the top. So it's like you're lifting a blueberry with your vagina and you're doing up a zipper from your pubic bone up to your ribs when you're engaging those transverse abs. So inhale, and then exhale, engage, push back up. Similar kind of movement if you were doing, say, an overhead press. You would have your weight here, and you would take your big inhale, exhale, inhale as you lower. Exhale, inhale as you lower. Exhale, engage those abs, that pelvic floor. So you're going to engage this strategy throughout all of your movements. Now, occasionally you might encounter a movement where your core isn't quite up to the task, in which case you will use what's called a foundational breath. So what that looks like is you're inhaling when you're not doing the exercise at all, and then you're exhaling throughout the entire movement. So in a squat, it would be you take a big inhale at the top, and then engage and exhale throughout the whole movement. So inhale, engage, inhale at the top, exhale, engage. So same thing with an overhead press or any sort of arm movement. It would be inhale, exhale. So that's a foundational breath. If you're ever not feeling supported by your core or your pelvic floor, or you're having trouble, say at the bottom of a squat or at the bottom of a deadlift, feeling those abs of that pelvic floor engage, it's a good idea to try that foundational breath and see if you can maintain that engagement throughout the entire movement.